Hi there, one meteorologist Robert Spetta here with you today. It is currently the 11th of April, 2014. This update on severe tropical cyclone Ita. I'm saying severe, and it truly is. This is a monster of a storm system. Winds right now 215, gusting to 295 kilometers per hour. Pressure at 931 HPA, continuing to track off there towards the southwest at about 8 kilometers an hour. And this storm system, actually, it is not only on par with Cyclone Yasi, which kind of set the precedent of strong tropical systems in recent memory for the Queensland coastline, but it is stronger by 10 kilometers per hour in sustained winds, and that just kind of puts it in perspective as it does continue to cruise. The outer rain band's already starting to near the Queensland coastline here, and you can see in that more infrared or microwave imagery that some of these outer rain bands along the southern periphery already starting to push out there towards Cooktown. Now the big thing is, though, you see where in the center of this circulation, that very tight core, that is the eye wall, and that is where we are seeing those 285 kilometer per hour winds gusting up to. And put that more in perspective, and I like to use comparisons, that is on par with an F3, F2 up to F3 tornado. So that eye wall, that is the equivalent of a moderately strong tornado, F2 to F3 on the Fujita scale. That just shows how strong and how damaging this potentially could be. Now, where this storm system is expected to make landfall, we're talking about those of you into the Cooktown area. They have made preparations ahead of this. This is coming onshore and the really right front quadrant, pushing onshore right around the time of high. Now, it's pushing on shore right around the time of high tide, expected right about 6 to 7 p.m. locally here, and that's expected about the same time of landfall for Cooktown. So that also comes into a major factor as far as the storm surge for this area. Now, the good news is that Cooktown, not to dwindle the significance, but about 2,000 people live there. And that is less people to warn on, less people to evacuate. Also a little bit farther inland, Laura, about 200 people. The biggest population in this part of Queensland off towards the far north, of course, is Cairns, where 142,000 people live. And by the time it does make it off into your direction, this should be a weaker storm system. Not completely weaked out. I mean, we're talking still about cyclone warnings in effect. A Category 2 to potentially Category 1 strength winds for Cairns off towards Port Douglas. But it's not going to be that Category 5 monster that we are seeing right now at this time. That was actually the Bureau of Meteorology track. I do want to compare it up with the Joint Typhoon Warning Center just for reference. They are also keeping it, though, as that Category 1 intensity as it does a rollover can. So even for those of you there, if you're a resident or if you are there at that tourist hotspot, this weekend is not a day to do anything. I mean, just stay inside. Take a look at the satellite imagery I actually took last night, screen grabbed last night from the MTSat, and it just shows you the power of this storm system. Let's take a look at the model outlooks now from ECMWF, and I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen. This is based on the JTWC track, a little bit stronger than what the Bureau of Meteorology is saying, but it still basically kind of gives you a pretty good perspective of how strong the storm system is. And JTWC often goes a little bit more intense. Right now, 247 up to 303 kilometers an hour, making that landfall there right about 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like I said, that is about the time of high tide coming on shore just right around Cooktown. And this is the big problem that we're going to be seeing, is that right front quadrant, these winds coming on shore. So even around Cairns, I mean, I know you're farther south and you're away from that center of circulation, but you still could see a rising tide here as well. I mean, this storm system has a pretty wide reach coming along the southern periphery of it, and that means that you are going to look at a rising tide right near the coast, right near the lagoon, also especially towards Cooktown. I can't stress enough how hard this town is going to be hit by this tropical system. Not sure where our friends at Cyclone Chasers are, but I'm sure they're trying to get to some of these locations out here right near the immediate coastline. And then eventually the storm system is going to swing down there towards the south, skirting the coast and still gathering moisture, and that is why it's going to stay at that, well, cyclone intensity. JTWC is still expecting about 178 up to 223 kilometers per hour at this time. That's why, because it's still be able to grab that moisture out of the Coral Sea. Very warm waters in between the reef and the coastline here, and that is going to allow for our storm to continue to remain fairly strong before it eventually starts to weaken out as it does continue to head off there towards the south. But this is the other thing to keep in mind. Brisbane right here, I should have put a point on the map, but Brisbane right here, you're still going to be seeing some pretty heavy precipitation and also gusty winds coming out of it. It's not going to be cyclone intensity, but this still is going to bring some pretty nasty weather into the early part of next week as this storm does slowly skirt off and eventually down there towards the south. Right here, we're still talking about winds, at least according to this specific model, which I trust pretty well at this point. Winds up to about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, along with those showers you were just talking about throughout the day. So, yeah, early part of next week's going to be pretty nasty for Brisbane, but right now, this is obviously the big topic on Friday into Saturday as the storm does continue to push off there towards the south. I know I usually don't do updates for Australia. Like I said, our friends at Cyclone Chasers, I can't stress this enough, they got full coverage going on with this storm system over at their website, AUSCyclonechasers.com. Go ahead and check them out. They actually just reached 100,000 likes on their Facebook page as well. Pretty good milestone for them, and I think it's well-deserved. They do a lot of good stuff out here. They have their own app and everything, and yeah, they have a pretty good chase team set up, and they're probably going to be streaming live. Actually, let's click on Current Chase and see if they already have it up at this time. Yeah, there you go. So please do go check that out. Oh, there it is. And they are streaming live already. So that is what is going on with them. And if you have any more questions, comments, or suggestions, though, you can always post them down there in the comment box below. And as always, stay safe out there, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye.